The bank screen refreshed while I was still holding my coffee. Balance, $214.63. I refreshed it again. Still $214.63. Most people would call what happened next a cheating revenge story. I didn't think of it that way at the time. At the time, I was just doing accounting. 2 days earlier, that account held $38,000. And my husband had walked out the night before. I opened the transaction history. 4 transfers, $9,800, $9,600, $9,700, $9,700. All sent to an account number I didn't recognize. The timestamps were close together. 11:42 p.m., 12:03 a.m., 12:11 a.m., 12:26 a.m. He had left the house around 10:30. I stared at the numbers, trying to convince myself there was another explanation. Maybe he moved the money to savings. Maybe he paid something off. I refreshed the page again. Same 4 transfers, same unknown account, same balance, $214.63. I opened the savings account. Balance, $0. He had cleared that one too. The retirement account was still there, but that required 2 signatures. The checking account didn't. Either of us could transfer money, which meant he had done this legally, just not honestly. I screenshotted every transfer, the routing numbers, the timestamps, the destination account. By the time I finished, my coffee had gone cold. That's when I saw something else. A pending withdrawal, $3,200, scheduled for the next morning. Our mortgage payment. He hadn't just emptied the account. He left it low enough for the payment to bounce. I pulled 6 months of joint account history and went through it line by line. The transfers weren't the only thing I found. There was a receipt email from 2 weeks earlier. A hotel, 45 minutes from our house. He'd told me he was at a conference that week. I read the subject line once and closed the app. Then I opened it again and screenshotted it. I wasn't ready to name what I was looking at, but I kept looking. I checked the routing number from the transfers. Regional Credit Union. Not our bank. Not any account we had ever used together. And the amounts, just under $10,000 each, seemed oddly precise. I pulled up our account agreement, the one I had downloaded years earlier when we refinanced the house. Halfway through the terms, I found the line he had worked around. Transfers exceeding $25,000 in a single day triggered internal review. He had known that, so he split them. 4 careful transfers, calculated, but he still made one mistake. At that point, I didn't know what it was yet. 2 days later, a friend called. Her voice was careful. She asked if I knew he had been seeing someone. Apparently, it had been going on for months. Late nights, weekend gym visits, business trips that suddenly made sense. The affair explained the distance. It didn't explain the money. Affairs are messy. Emptying a bank account is deliberate. I went back through the hotel receipts. His loyalty account number was registered to an email variation I recognized as his. I found 3 more stays in the same folder, all within driving distance, all on days he had told me he was somewhere else. He called eventually. He sounded relaxed, like someone who thought everything was already settled. He said we should keep things civil. He said he had moved his share of the money, his share, as if the account hadn't paid our mortgage for 8 years. He mentioned filing for divorce soon. He said it would be easier if we both accepted the situation. After the call, I opened my laptop. Not the bank app, a different account. One he hadn't mentioned. One he had clearly stopped thinking about entirely. I logged in and the balance loaded slowly. $167,400. I checked the ownership line at the top of the statement. One name, mine. 5 years earlier, my grandmother had passed away and left me $120,000. We had talked about renovating the kitchen, maybe expanding the living room. But something about folding that money into our joint finances never felt right, so I opened a separate investment account in my name only. He knew it existed. But once I said it wasn't part of our shared accounts, he stopped asking about it. Over the years, it grew quietly. Market returns, dividend reinvestments. I rarely mentioned it. He had spent months planning his exit. He had never once thought to ask what was sitting on my side of the table. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. I emailed her the screenshots, all 4 transfers, the timestamps, the destination account, the hotel receipts. She filed within the week. Temporary financial orders, asset disclosure requests, account tracing. The bank had already flagged the transfers internally. Large movements in close succession had triggered monitoring. Once the legal paperwork attached to the joint account, the credit union flagged the receiving account. By the end of the week, the funds were frozen. Not seized, just locked. Waiting. He called again after that. His voice was different, less confident. He asked if I had done something with the bank. I told him the truth. I filed paperwork. That was it. Over the following weeks, the full financial picture came together through discovery. The $37,800 in transfers was classified as marital asset movement. Every dollar was traceable, every transfer time-stamped. The dissipation claim covered all of it. His share of the house reflected the full accounting. And when the down payment records surfaced, the ones showing that the original deposit had come from the same inheritance account he had forgotten, the equity split wasn't what he had planned for either. The mortgage payment came due while the legal process ran. I paid it from the inheritance account. The house stayed current. He moved into an apartment across town. The joint account closed. The frozen funds folded back into the settlement totals. Everything reduced to numbers on statements and signatures on documents. My grandmother's account stayed mine. Premarital asset. My name only. Fully documented. He had no claim to it and never had. These days my mornings are quieter. I still sit at the same kitchen table. Coffee in one hand. The habit of checking account balances hasn't gone away. Some habits don't. But now the page loads differently. One account, one login, one name. He thought he was leaving someone with less. He spent months moving money and covering tracks, negotiating from what he believed was a position of advantage. He just never asked what was sitting in an account he didn't know to look for. Most people assume the person managing the household is the one with less to lose. Sometimes that's exactly what they're supposed to think.